The Parks Committee meeting for 11/18/2020 is now in session. Let it be noted for the record that all of the committee members are present. Alder Gerlach, Alder Weary, and Alder Burnett, and the chair, Alder Scannell, of course, speaking. With that, I'll take a motion to accept our agenda.
I'll second.
Okay, motion by Alder Weary, seconded by Alder Gerlach. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. I will now take a motion to approve our minutes from our last meeting.
Move to approve. Second.
Moved by Alder Burnett, seconded by Alder Weary. Any changes we need to make, anyone? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? We have our minutes. Approve it. James, let me know when we can go on to regular business.
Good.
Okay. Regular business. Number 1, consideration with possible action on the staff summary of the research and cost estimates for the necessary floodway studies to reopen the East River trails within the city limits on both sides of the East River. Beth?
And I didn't know if, I know Alder Galvin's online. Do you want me to go over the summary first, Alder Galvin, or do you want to say anything?
Sure, that'd be fine, James.
Okay. So this topic, as you know, was discussed at a previous park committee meeting. The committee directed staff to research the costs for completing the necessary floodway studies to rebuild the areas of the East River Trail that have had reoccurring flooding occurrences over the last 2 years. In addition, we were asked to reach out to the surrounding communities to see if there was any interest in working together for a regional flood study. So we did inspect the trails and realized there were 7 areas within the city that occasionally flood. Some of these areas have standing water longer than others, and some of these areas also are used by user groups more than others. There are maps in the agenda packet showing where these trails, the trail issues are located. We have also included a cost estimate in the agenda packet. So the cost estimate you see is broken down into 3 sections. The first estimate is to complete the initial survey work and floodway studies of each of the 7 areas. The total cost for the engineering is $194,200 for all 7 areas. There is currently no funding available for this engineering. If you wanted to move ahead with this engineering, the City Council would have to bond $104,200 through the 2021 bond request. We could also look at grant opportunities, but it could take close to a year before we would know if any of these grants are approved, and many of these grants would require matching funds. And then you go to phase 2, which is the engineering, which would consist of the hiring of the consultant to design and engineer the bid plans and specifications. This engineering scope of work would entail stormwater management engineering, trail engineering, permitting, and potential wetland mitigation. The total cost for this engineering would be $560,000. This cost assumes that all 7 floodway studies indicate that they were able to fill in the floodway in all 7 locations. This amount can be reduced by $60,000 if the FEMA mapping is completed for all 7 locations at the same time. So the final anticipated construction cost is $1,161,300. But it's very early to give an accurate construction cost. So these are more, our best approximation at this point. But we based our construction estimates on the ability to get permits, which will allow us to raise the grade of the trail and repave it. So with all 3 phases, the total project cost would be $1,915,300. So a few other points to point out are during phase 2 engineering, we could possibly explore the feasibility of building some boardwalks. This option would likely cost more money to construction and would require additional maintenance. At the last park committee, we stated that it might be difficult to complete a regional flood study, as these flood studies are very site specific to determine the impact filling in the floodway would have on the adjacent property owners. So Director Ditchite did have a meeting with the park directors for Alloway, Bellevue, De Pere, and Ledgeview, and only 2 of the 4 communities indicated that this is a problem in their community and thought there would be support from their councils to study this further. They also all agreed that it would be hard to do this as a regional study because each study is so site-specific. The only benefit would be a potential slight decrease in engineering fees due to a larger scope of work, and possibly it might be easier to secure grant dollars for this type of work. So only one location currently, which is Emily Park, connects to an adjacent community. So our estimates only reflect the path and no adjacent projects that would need to occur as a result of changing the grade of the path. So example, grading Optimist Park to maintain positive drainage instead of, right now what we have is one park because of the flooding that's been essentially not been able to be used over the last couple of years because of the flooding. So we also have a staff recommendation, if you'd like, based on kind of what we see as the priority if we were to tackle these one section at a time. I can go over that if you'd like, otherwise we can open it back up for comments or other questions.
Well, Alder Galvin, is there anything you care to add in at this point, or?
Before I make any comments, I'd like to open the floor to interested parties. There might be some people here that'd like to make some comments or ask some questions.
Well, maybe we should give them all the information then?
Yes.
Sure.
So why don't we just,
John, should we first hear what the staff is recommending, or,
yeah, let's finish with the staff report, and then we can open the floor.
Sure. So based on our staff recommendations, which is our maintenance staff along with our recreational staff and looking at our design development staff also, just looking at the whole picture of use and also the amount of flooding. So we would rank Sullivan area by the Riverside Ballroom, back behind East High School there by the Riverside Ballroom is our number one priority. Number 2 would be Optimist. Number 3, Emily. Number 4, East River Van Bieber. Number 5, Joannes. Number 6, Sullivan Schoolside. And number 7, Meyer. And it looks like I froze on your screen a little bit, but you can still hear me, hopefully.
Yep, go ahead. Is there anything else?
Nope, that's it.
Okay, take a motion to open the floor.
motion to open floor?
Second.
Motion by Alder Gerlach, seconded by Alder Brunette. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the floor is now open. Please just state your name and address, and you can address the committee. Anyone's here for this?
Well, I'm James Olson,
And your address?
310 Bader Street.
Thank you.
I'm a member of the Bear Creek Preservation Group and have been working a little remotely with Bill Galvin on the issues of the flooding, particularly down in your first priority placement there behind the riverside. I'm wondering, the first question I have is for James. I'm wondering what the presumptive rise in water height is that you have used for the studies that you're doing, or are you expecting that you are going to get that from the study itself?
Oh, that's a great question. I think we have Emma on the line, which she is our park engineer, and she did most of the research on the study. Maybe she can comment more detail to that question.
Yeah, sure. Hi, I'm Emma Brown. I'm the civil engineer for the Parks Department. Can you all hear me okay?
Yep, you're good.
All right. So as far as the flooding levels we're looking at, that would be part of the study is to determine what level, I guess we would review the park at and to change the elevation by. Obviously, that's very dependent on each site. And we would be work with FEMA to help determine what that level would be. And then it would also have to be broadcasted to the future of what future flooding they would expect in order to make an adequate design.
All right. Of course, the flooding is being caused by the rise in the level of the Great Lakes at historic levels right now, and with the presumption of climate change and the change in which precipitation levels are being experienced throughout the upper Midwest, we really don't know where this level is going. I mean, historically, of course, the Great Lakes have gone up and down in ways that have been fairly predictable. And now we're at a state of unpredictability with that. And I'm just wondering, Emma, do you have an idea about some sort of protocol that they're using for the way in which they might determine that ultimate rise?
No, I apologize. I do not know what that would be. That's something we would look to FEMA to help establish.
All right.
Is there anything else you care to add, Mr. Olson, or?
Well, I guess there is one other thing that I've thought of as I've studied this myself. I'm wondering if you've looked at the possibility of diking along the flooding areas as opposed to the rise in the trailway itself.
Staff, have we considered that at all, or?
I don't believe that's something that we've currently considered.
I don't know what all that would entail. That would probably be. Yes, sir.
As it pertains to the recent flooding this year and last year, the homes along the East River, at the meetings that the mayor held with the residents, many of them suggested a diking process along the East River. And according to DPW, that cost would
Turn on.
large amount of water into their area, forcing them to either dike or just put all the houses on stilts along that area. So I think at that time, when we were talking about it at the meeting that the mayor held, it wasn't considered feasible at that time, just because of cost and the fact we have to dike all the way back up past here for Richmond.
All right. Is that it? Mr. Olson?
That's all for me, yes.
Good seeing you. Anyone else here for this?
This is Holly Basin with the Bear Creek Preservation Foundation, also address is 1270 East Main Street.
Jim?
Just quick question to James or Emma. In regards to speaking of doing a boardwalk, and I can't speak to what the best thing to do obviously is in this situation, but have you guys considered if we went to boardwalks in these spots? I know the cost is greater, but could you do it, each spot at not at one time, but at each individual time to make up the cost and be able to get the fix in at each location?
Can you guys hear me right now?
Yep, you're good.
All right. We're having a few, the room here, the microphone blanked out on us, but I guess we would consider, all possible options based on what the study, I think, and what you guys approve going forward. I mean, like we said in the summary, though, the cost for boardwalks and those kind of things would just potentially increase the cost of this overall project. So, and once again, I mean, we'd consider anything. We're always looking for creative solutions to provide to, help out with situations like this. But, with anything, it comes down to a budget. And, it would be based on us going back and figuring out what the budget for those boardwalks and what that project would entail.
Yeah, and I guess the only reason that I bring up the boardwalks is because of the point of saying, you know, if we raise the grade of the trail and then cause more flooding in other areas, then we're just looking at compounding the problem. So I'm just thinking if, you know, there's raised boardwalks, at least the water is just going under. We're not really solving the water issue, but at least making the trail still usable. And I know that raises the cost, but maybe it doesn't in the long run if it doesn't cause flooding somewhere else.
I guess I have one response to that, Holly. Presumably, if diking has been dismissed as the possibility of a solution, then the presumption would be that if you're going to raise the trail, that you would have piping underneath that raised trail that would allow water to flow back and forth in its natural positions. Is that correct, James?
Yeah, I guess I'm not a flood study engineer and or would I want to speak on behalf of anybody. I don't know the answer to your question. It's something that we'd have to study, go back and revert to the experts on those things. I guess, like I said, I mean, you don't quite know until you work with FEMA and some of these experts to see, you know, if you fix this location, what it would potentially do to this other location. And I think to your point, James, is until we do something and nature takes its course, I mean, we in reality don't know what's actually going to happen. So.
Right. The presumption would be that if you had culverts underneath the raised bed, of course, the bed would not then act as a dike itself.
Mm-hmm.
It would simply be a raised trail that would allow the water to flow back and forth as it had prior to that.
Yeah, if we choose to go forward on any of these, and we have the budget and we want to approve to go forward with any of these, that'd be part of, I'm sure, the conversation, the study to see what the best possible solution for these things are.
Sure.
James, did you get a budget number for zip lines?
Holly, that's in a different meeting that we're talking about zip lines. Don't ruin my don't steal my thunder on that one, okay?
Is there anyone else on this item?
Yeah, the zip line could be a revenue produced. We could zip line across these river and raise revenue for the project, right?
You can not even have a trail, just have zip lines. I'll take a motion to close the floor.
Motion to close the floor.
Second. Motion by Alder Gaylord, seconded by Alder Head. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, the floor is now closed. Anything, Mr. Galvin, you care to chip in?
Yes, thank you, Chair. I'm love what the city has going with the bike trails that it has right now and how it's progressing to try and connect the East River Trail, the Fox River Trail. The city has spent a considerable amount of time, money, and effort over the years to create this, what I consider a jewel for our community. And I'm hoping we can have more. But my concern right now is the East River Trail. And I was out still meeting last week. I went out for a ride on the East River Trail because it was open the week before. And I ended up coming home. It was 21 degrees outside, and I came home covered in ice because I went through so many puddles that ended up, so. I mean, it was not the most fun experience of my life. But I still saw, while I was out there, I still saw many people trying to use what cars were available because it is just a neat way to get from so many parts in our communities and different neighborhoods, residential areas, and everything else. And it's beautiful. There's a lot of deer, turkey. I mean, you need all one way otters I've seen. And as East River is cleaned up, I mean, they've got the Alley has Bellevue put in beds for the northern pike to be able to lay their eggs and reproduce. I mean, so we've got a real gem here. And money's tough. This year, no different than last year, especially this year, it's tough. The budget's tough, I understand that. But I just think if we start preparing as a community and bond together with the other communities along this trail, I think we can do more good than trying to do it on our own. If you look at the East River Trail, there's a lot of signs that dedicate that trail to various individuals and organizations that put time, money, and effort into building the trail as it is right now. It's almost, I think it's just over 10 miles long from where it starts in Green Bay to where it ends in Ledger. And the DNR was one of them. And then there's some individuals in this community and organizations too that contribute to it. And I just think maybe Green Bay should be the leader in this to get this initiative going. And we don't have the money right now to do the fixes, but at least we can raise the monies to see what the fixes are so we have a good idea of what it's going to cost. We go out look for those grants. There might be matching funds from the state, the federal government to do some of this work. But I just would like to see this committee somehow figure out a way to get the process going with parks and Green Bay leading the way to start a process of planning. So that 5 years down the road, when the economy is rocking and rolling, and we decide to look at this again, at least we've done our due diligence now, and we can get it up and rolling and get these changes made. I mean, I think, the boardwalk is said to be more expensive than simply raising the trail, but as Ms. Brown said, we don't know how high this water is going to go. And I've seen docking and boardwalk systems that are able to raise them as the water goes up. And this, may be more expensive in the long run, but if we're going to continue to see rising waters, boardwalks that we can raise up and keep the trail open might be an option. If you go on to Bellevue, just before Green Owl Park and Alloway, they have a large section of boardwalk there, but that's currently underwater. And they've got to put chains across the trail to keep fools like me from riding their bikes and walking on it. So I know that two of the communities said they're not interested in this right now, but I just think if we can show the leadership, that maybe we might get them on board along with some of the other state, federal agencies and local benefactors.
James, you did mention there were two other municipalities that did kind of bite onto this, right? They were.
I don't have the details on which two municipalities those were. I just was in conversation. I just heard two other. Yep.
And Brown County is also available there. I realize they already have the Mountain Bay Trail and the Fox River Trail, but they get funds from the state for that. And there's no funds for this trail because it's not a state trail, although that might be an option to look at. If we were to make it a state trail, then the bike fees that people pay to use it come back to our community to be used to maintain those trails. I mean, there's just, I think there's a lot of things, and it's unfortunately it's going to take someone's time and effort to research this and put it together. But we've got people like the Bear Creek Preservation Organization that's interested in this, and I'm sure there's others out there that if we can just forge some kind of a relationship, I think we can do more good than just sitting back and waiting for the climate to change or whatever, and the water go back down to where it was 6, 7, 8 years ago.
Okay. Anyone have any ideas? Is it, should we refer this back to staff to take a look at other possibilities of, we didn't reach out to the county at all, correct, James?
I don't believe, from my knowledge, I don't know if we've had a conversation with the county or not.
Okay. And they probably aren't going to be interested in the. Because we can lead the way, but I'd almost prefer a higher organization to get all of us in order. We have no authority over those other municipalities. We have no, it'd be perhaps better for the county or state to pull it all together. Because I hate to think of that, we're going to do our part, maybe even another municipality or two, but then parts of the trail are just not going to, they're still going to be having problems because the other municipalities aren't going to step up for whatever reason. It seems to make sense to do it right, do the whole thing. And that's a little beyond our capacity.
Well, Randy, Amanda Chu, who is the Brown County Board Supervisor for that area by Sullivan School, is the one that actually pointed out what was going on with the trail. And granted, it'd be nice for the county to step up or for the state to step up, but sometimes it takes the little guy to lead the way. And I think the DNR and that, I think if we could arrange some kind of a meeting with parties that have a best interest in this, maybe just on a government level, and see if we can forge some kind of an agreement that we are all willing to work together for the common good, and see where we have to go, and then start looking at some of the NGOs and other organizations like that to see if they're willing to get on board. Again, granted, you look at it, a very small part of this trail in actuality is in Green Bay, but looking at we're trying to link the Fox River Trail to this East River Trail.
Yeah.
I think it would behoove us to try and be the leader in this, at least until it's time to pass it off to someone who says, hey, I'll take it. But until that point in time, I don't think it would hurt us to see what we could manage to put together.
She's not looking at money for a study right now, more getting organized and.
Right. Let's get organized, then let's start looking at the money end of it, see what's available. Because my experience with the state and federal government is the more municipalities that are involved with these grants that they give out, the more they're willing to grant those monies to us. I've seen this so many times in the police department. We apply for a grant, and the state and the feds would say, okay, you can have this money, you're going to share it with Brown County and Ashwaubenon, and even in some cases other adjacent counties. And so I think we're stronger together than we are as individuals. And I think we can accomplish more together than just trying to forge ahead on our own and take care of our own backyard.
Right, I agree with that completely, yeah. So, James, if we need a motion to the effect of referring to staff to put together as many of these pieces as possible, and perhaps you can get the mayor on board to help with the other municipalities or whatever. I don't know if they really have parks departments in the surrounding communities.
Most do.
Well, you can speak to.
Yeah, most do. I mean, maybe something, refer back to staff to collaborate with area agencies and or municipalities to, to look at creative ways to, or look at ways to reopen the East River trails within the, on both sides of the East River, something to that effect.
Well, my fellow alders, any other thoughts? Does that sound good, or?
And then, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Chairman. I think that does sound good. I would like it to obviously come back in 3 months, 6 months with an update. A lot of times we'll refer things to staff and they kind of forgets about it, and then 2 years from now we're like, oh, that's right, we sent that there to get it. So I think regular updates would be good. Maybe, I don't know, maybe over Galvin, if you want to bring it back up when you think.
James, James could probably reach out to me. I know the Bear Creek Preservation Society would like to put some kind of a meeting together outside near the East River Trail or at the East River Trail with maybe possibly with the city and the DNR so they can get a grasp on it. I mean, they've done a lot of work, a lot of good work at the Bear Creek Parkway. I mean, it's amazing what they've done. They've got a lot of knowledge and experience in some of these situations, working with waterways and that. Their input, I think, would be very valuable. And I'm sure there's some other organizations out there. James, you sent me a letter. I cannot remember who it's from now, but there's an initiative to look at the East River from various different aspects. And so, I don't know, James, if you can help facilitate a meeting like that, where we can all be socially distanced, but kind of shoot the path together over what we're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, I think that's definitely something we can do, and we can set a time frame on it to update, or just say bring back the park committee for an update, and I can discuss with you on kind of the timeline and how I can let you know how that's going and where we're at.
Absolutely.
Yeah, take a motion.
I'll make the motion you said earlier.
So I'll clean this up. I'll clean this up, but what I have is to refer back to staff to organize and collaborate a meeting with interested and affected organizations, agencies, municipalities. I'll clean this up a little bit, but to look at ways that we can jointly open East River trails within the both sides of the East River. Something to that effect. I'll clean it up a little bit, but I'm trying to think of.
That sounds about right. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion by Alder Weary and a second by Alder Burnett. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. There you go, Snap. Right back at you.
All right, we're good.
Good. Item number 2. Consideration with possible action to accept the donation of garbage receptacles, light pole banners, and uplighting from the Whitney Neighborhood Association for installation at Whitney Park. Yeah.
All right, over the last 4 to 5 years, Whitney Park has been proactive, and because of their efforts, they're recipient of some nice upgrades, and also host to multiple new events over the last 4 or 5 years. This has helped increase the usage of the park, and it wouldn't have been made possible without multiple partners all working together with the Parks Department to continue the vision to come to fruition on this park. So some of the recent improvements of the park in the past 4 or 5 years include the Leadership Green Bay project, which they did that nice stage that's there now at Whitney Park that hosts, well, on a typical year, not this year unfortunately, but on a typical year would host the concerts in the park and other events that have an entertainer or a concert presenter. We had the dog park back in November 2017, and that was with included various donors, including the Whitney Park Neighborhood Association. And then we put in the conduit and anchor bases for lights in 2018. And then we had the light poles and fixtures that were installed this past January in 2020. And that was funded by Green Bay Neighborhood Leadership Council and Whitney Park Neighborhood Association and other various donors. So we now come again to the Parks Committee to continue to shape this park's future by hopefully accepting a $10,000 grant made possible through the United Way of Brown County to the Whitney Parks Neighborhood Association, which will fund tree uplighting on 4 lamp posts and also provide 2 pairs of banner arms on all 7 lamp posts. So I did, unfortunately, I did on the motion, or I mean on the agenda item, I said garbage receptacles. With the budget of $10,000, we couldn't quite, they couldn't quite afford the garbage receptacles at this time. So that's something they'll look to, as you see in your packet, if you read through that, they'll look to fund in the future with those kind of upgraded garbage receptacles in the future. But these amenities will be installed by our park crews in the spring, and we want to have a special thanks to go out to the United Way of Brown County with this grant, and we look forward to continue to work with the Neighborhood Association to continue the upgrades on the park. So we're looking for an approval to accept the donation of the uplighting on 4 lamp posts, and also the pair of banner arms on all 7 lamp posts. And then we also have.
You did not to accept this, correct? I mean, this is your recommendation to accept. I'm assuming this is really nice.
Yeah.
I wouldn't.
Yeah, we met with the group and we've had many conversations, and we definitely think this fits in with the vision of what we talked about earlier with the park, and we really appreciate their energy on doing this. We do have somebody here, as part of the project if you want to open the floor, but otherwise, yeah, we definitely fully support this.
Well, just do something you'd like to say, Garrett, otherwise I think we're ready to vote.
I'll be very brief. Thank you, James. Nailed that.
Motion to open the floor. Motion to open the floor.
Second.
I motion the floor, okay, and Alder Garland seconded, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, the floor's open, go ahead, you can address it.
Now I'll be brief. So, James nailed it, but United Way is being part of this neighborhood initiative they have.
Sorry, can I get your name and address first?
Garrett Bader, 300 North Van Buren Street. So United Way offered up to $10,000 for a grant to the different neighborhoods we applied. It really gave them a buffet of ideas we had in mind: banners, planters, lighting, trash cans, a number of things. United Way essentially said, yeah, we like it all, whatever Parks Department you guys all agree on that you want, we'll fund it. And as James mentioned, we met and looked at the best ideas, being lighting, banners, and we'll start there.
Super. Anyone else for this? Motion to close the floor.
Second.
Motion by Alder Weary, seconded by Alder Burnett, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the floor is now closed. Any further discussion?
I have a question.
Certainly, Alder Gallagher.
So what we are approving is that the city will do the installation? And is that when you have to approve this?
We have to.
We're approving, go ahead, James.
No, I was just going to say we're just approving the donation of the uplighting and the banner arms and the lamp posts. Traditionally, anything over $5,000, we usually bring to park committee for approval.
Okay, thank you.
So is there a motion? We had a motion, right? In a second?
Yep, the motion, I think, might be to accept the donation of light pole banners and uplighting from the Whitney Neighborhood Association for installation at Whitney Park.
Is there such a motion?
Moved.
So moved by Alder Burnett.
I'll second that.
Seconded by Alder Burnett. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much.
Thanks all.
With the Neighborhood Association. We ready for 3?
Almost.
Okay.
Okay, we're ready.
Item number 3, consideration with possible action on the use of fat tire bikes at a Nisra park. Staff?
And then Alder Burnett, would you want me to go first with the summary?
Sure, that would be fine, James. Thank you.
As you recall, back in the late winter of 2020, we discussed Henistra Park usage and the use of fat tire bikes on the trails. So it was decided at that time that we'd work to groom the cross-country ski trails and the fat tire bike trails to allow users to utilize the trails for both recreational opportunities. So the Parks Department since then has been in touch with the cross-country skiers and also the fat tire bike patrons, and overall, we have had minimal concerns. But in order to be proactive and provide the best possible experience for all our users, we have taken some of those concerns as well as some of the positive feedback into account and made an effort to improve the trail system signage within the park and also raise more awareness while being condescending to limit any potential concerns going forward. So because of that, we have actually updated our map and the use of the trails accordingly, which we're going to show you as part of this agenda item. So the map of Henistra that you would have seen in the past would have just marked out all of the trails, and both users would have been able to. We had a cross-country ski trail and a fat tire bike trail right next to each other, essentially going down the same trails and users using the same trails. But the map on the screen that we'll show you will actually provide both users an opportunity to have the trails dedicated and groomed just for cross-country skiers and just for fat tire bikers respectively. So there should really be minimal interaction when it comes to using Henistra Park for both these uses. This will give both users an opportunity to focus on their leisure preference, and we will continue to monitor the usage and give this vision kind of a season to work through, and we'll modify accordingly if we need to. I did want to point out that within the last month, we actually had a donation from the Fat Tire Bike Group for, it's called a Snow Dog. It's actually a grooming machine that will actually groom trails for fat tire bikes. And so we'll have that machine that our park staff can use to groom the fat tire bike trails. And then we also have another machine that we have used for many decades, actually, I think, to do the cross-country ski trails. So we think that the new map, which if you want, we can bring it up on the screen.
It's existing.
Oh, it's on there?
This is existing.
Okay. Do you see the map on the screen at all? Not yet? They don't see the map.
Oh, okay. Here we go. Okay.
All right, we're going to share the screen now. We're going to share with you now. Actually, it's
Okay, so
all right. So the first map we'll show you is the existing,
okay.
which shows, and I think, do you guys see it now? Still not? No, they still don't see it.
Okay, let me try again.
It shares.
Share.
So it shares.
Oh, here.
There we go.
Okay, that's working? That's working?
That looks like it's working now. Yes.
Okay, this is existing.
So if you see the map now, you see where Lombardi Middle School is. South Point is on the bottom of the screen. So you can kind of get orientated to where this map shows. So this is the existing map with all of the trails marked out that were utilized this last winter season for both cross-country skiing and fat tire biking. So there were a few areas that had a little bit of concern addressed to them. So what we did is we actually updated the map and we marked fat tire bike trails and ski trails separate, and then we'll bring that map up for you to see the difference in a second.
No?
Yep. So this is the new map that will mark out the various trails, so users will have really essentially not a lot of not interaction with each other, but less potential for any kind of concern between the two users. And I guess our viewpoint would be we've worked with, we've had some cross-country skier communication, and also we've talked with the Fat Tire Bike Group, and we feel between the two groups, there's been minimal concerns, and we feel like we can go another season, try this new map out, and see if it, and also raise awareness for what's going on at the park, and we feel both users can be accommodated accordingly. I guess any questions before? Yeah.
Chairman's panel's muted, if it's okay. You're recognized. Okay, thank you. And thank you, James. I want, for the sake of the committee, to even back up just a bit further from what James mentioned. In February of this year, I had received quite a few calls and contacts from constituents, 7, 8, up to 10 perhaps, of folks who live in the neighborhood or frequent the park, or either walking or cross-country skiing. Up until that point, the fat tire bike use was not really designated. It was, as James, you said, winter 2020. Did you mean January 2020?
Yes.
That's when it started?
That's when we kind of, it sometimes would happen organically. People would come and fat tire bike there, but it was never groomed for fat tire biking until January of 2020.
Right. So January 2020, February 2020 is when I had started receiving quite a few complaints and concerns with the neighbors. What is going on? I have to slow down when I say this. The fat tire bikers, in their opinion, were rather aggressive. Riding too close to the walkers. Not showing good care for the walkers. And what I ascertained at the moment was that you have multiple user groups trying to use the same park that historically had not officially been used for that purpose. And so it appeared before this very committee in February. Keep in mind, Chairman Scannell and Alder Gerlach, you were not part of the committee at that time. I think maybe Alderman Weary might recall. And Jane, Director Ditchite mentioned that they had not really heard anything negative, that a lot of the feedback they had received was fairly positive. And I believe our recommendation at the time was, okay, let's try to move forward for another year. Well, now it's November, and this is the time where a lot of that use will be picking up, especially as we enter the cross-country skiing season. And I'm just trying to stay ahead of it. I did receive one or two concerns so far, but then I reached out to a handful of my constituents who have expressed concerns in the past. And at this point, I would like to make a motion to open the floor to hear from interested individuals regarding it.
Motion by Alder Burnett, second? Second, someone? Second by Alder Wery, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, if you could, please just state your name and address. Anyone would like to speak to this?
Good evening. My name is Matthew Bird. My address is 3090 Sandia Drive. I want to say that I'm a user of both groups, fat biking and cross country skiing. I've been enjoying the park for many years. I love the idea of having separate trails. I think it's fantastic. I do live in the neighborhood and make great use of the park throughout the year with biking, hiking, snowshoeing, and most recently fat biking. I cross country skied there many years ago. I can understand as a fat biker the concerns of individuals walking and sharing trails. It can seem that we may not be as in control as we are. Additionally, I would like to point out that as a designated cross-country ski trail, the majority of uses is actually foot traffic walking across those groomed ski trails. So taking the effort that the city put into grooming them and trampling it so that it is no longer usable for cross-country skiers. Before I started mountain biking 3 years ago, or fat biking 3 years ago, I would try to ski there. And most times I would get there and it would not be groomed. Or what had been groomed would have been trampled over by neighborhood people walking through the park with no respect for the work the city has done. I'm looking forward to enjoying another season of fat biking there, and am most pleased with the effort the city has put into this. Additionally, I want to put a plug in. I'm also part of Boy Scout Troop 1095, which helped with the signage of the ski trails a couple years ago, and the new boardwalk that was just installed the last couple of weekends on the southeast corner, which will be included as part of the ski trail, with the goal of a small neighborhood group to add additional footage of boardwalk on that red diagonal ski trail through the wetlands. If anyone has questions for me, I'm more than happy to answer additional items.
Thank you very much. Anyone else here for this? Okay, I can't see the,
I would like to speak. My name is Ted Thielon. I live in N2906 Prairie View Court.
okay, go ahead.
Well, I have a couple concerns. I'm not sure if I should start with questions or concerns, but I will start with questions. First, going back to the previous person that talked, the scouts. See, my problem is I use the park every day, and I've never been contacted by anybody about the intention of changing the designation or of the park. I did realize that there are some scouts pulling up some signs and removing mostly the signs that indicated that's a cross-country skiing trail, which kind of made me suspicious. And my first question would be, if you, retrospectively, historically, have you ever clearly and effectively tried to communicate with the community members regarding this change? Is there anybody who could answer that question?
Are you referring, sir? Are you referring to the change of how we're going to allocate these trails for both fat tire biking and cross country skiing? Is that what you're referring to?
Yes.
So, I mean, this essentially is our venue, one of our venues, I guess, for communicating that, is taking it through our park committee, taking it through city council, and getting this updated, mixed-use trail map approved.
Okay, so from the representative that talked just 5 minutes ago, it looks like only one side of the whole story was actually presented, and you mentioned that nobody complained about it. The reason why nobody complained about it is because most of the people didn't know about it. And the thing is, when you start pulling signs that clearly, I live here for 12 years, I use that park every year for cross-country skiing, not like a previous owner who decided to switch to the tire biking. I have to tell you that I make my own trails every year, and yes, I agree with him. The pedestrians are kind of not respecting us very much, but I would say the city doesn't respect us very much either, because the trails are usually on average groomed about twice a year. I would say if you see deteriorating trails and you don't see them renewed, and you don't have a significant effort to significantly inform the public that this is cross-country skiing trail, yes, the trail will eventually fall apart, but that is not the reason to just kind of say that there is no more interest in it. Like I said, I made my own trails, and I honestly believe that if you decide to make a big change like that, you should communicate with the community by, I don't know, news, try to communicate with the neighborhood before you actually start making a decision on this venue. Because if my wife wouldn't be walking there every day, and I wouldn't be walking every day and see the signs being pulled out and the shed being built over there, I would have no clue that suddenly there's going to be a group of bikers running down the hill. And that's my second question. The second question, have you assessed or have you tried to perform any third-party subjective assessment of the safety of creating a bike trail in these conditions? My biggest concern is I do my share of mountain biking at different places, and I go different states, and I can tell you that most of the trails that are designed for bikes are simply only designed for bikes, and there is no pedestrians on that trail. Also, the nature of our park is that the pathways are extremely narrow, and you talking about implementing a new plan of a new grooming machine that's going to start making wider, I assume wider trails. I'm just not imagining where those wider trails are going to fit, because those pathways are extremely narrow. So when I cross country ski, basically, I usually hit my face at least 10 times every time I go through the park by the branches of the trees. And I have no, I don't believe that there is any way that this trail could be safe for fast-moving vehicles. And I do bike, so I do know how fast you can go, and I know how fast you can go downhill over those hills. So I'm really concerned about the safety, because I actually like that idea that you want to share, which I agree with. We should all share. But the thing is, I believe it's going to be a huge liability because neither for bikers or for cross-country skiers, it's going to be possible to suddenly move out of the way. I don't know if you cross-country ski. I know the previous person that talked, he did cross-country ski 3 years ago, but I can tell you, moving out of the trail in a very fast pace is pretty much impossible unless you basically fall. So I was just wondering, I'm getting close to my question, if you guys had any type of assessment done when it's done in different parks, because I know park and reforestation camp, which I visit often too, for both cross-country skiing and biking, they're separated. And they're wide. They actually, those guys could actually accommodate two different venues on the same trail. But in this park, it's going to be extremely unsafe. And I just want to know if, in case of incidents, who's going to take responsibility? Who's going to have the right to decide whose fault it was? And, we already had multiple, as long as the traffic increased with the bikers on the trails. We do see occasional uncontrolled speeding bikers going down the hill, probably 20 miles an hour, yelling that we have to jump off of the trail because they're coming. This trail has, the longest trail is 2 miles. I bike every weekend. I do about 30 miles to 50 miles. If you are biking as a group in this park and you want to put up an hour of biking, you're probably going to go around that bike like 10 or 15 times. So there's going to be a lot of interference between cross-country skiers that are slow and completely safe for other users of the park. But I just can't imagine that the bikes are going to be safe on that specific trail. So I was wondering if there's any plan of objectively assess the safety of this trail.
Okay, ask James, have you, the width of the trail, is that a concern? If multiple users on the trail, how is that going?
Well, a couple things. I just want to be clear that this new map and what we're doing this year does separate the cross-country skiers and the fat tire bikers on different trails. So I want to make sure you're clear about that, because I thought you were saying that maybe you thought it was the same trail. We are raising awareness and working with the Fat Tire Bike Group because a lot of people will end up walking. We hope people stay off the cross-country ski trails. We realize a lot of people will hike and walk on the Fat Tire Bike trails because it will be groomed. It's about I would say a 20-inch wide path. So it's not incredibly large. And we do have the luxury of having both cross-country skiers and fat tire bikers on our staff for the Parks Department. So, and also we've worked with both groups, cross-country skiers. My son is actually on the Schwabenheim cross-country ski team. And also we brought in the head coach for the cross-country ski team, as well as we work with the fat tire bikers to make sure that some of those safety concerns are addressed. Now, we do have to educate, I think. This is part of the initiative that Alder Burnett was talking about, is raising awareness and educating people. So we do come up with a customary, what happens when two users come and are with each other. Now, fat tire bikers should be going one way, and walkers technically should be going the opposite way. So you're never coming up behind a walker and having them jump out. Walkers should be in clear view when fat tire bikers are coming at them. So there's certain things that we are doing to educate people as well. So I don't know if that answered your question specifically. In terms of a consultant or somebody coming in and doing a safety study, that would be a budget issue. And if you'd like us to look into that, we definitely can. But at this point, we feel we didn't need to.
I think.
Well, I do. I actually, I work in healthcare, and I do a lot. I have a lot to do with safety. I'm a physical therapist. I do basically, my biggest interest is in risk of falling. So basically, I do study damage and I do study effects of falls. And honestly, I do agree with you that dividing the trails is a good idea, but I'm going to go back to the size of the park and the amount of miles you guys going to put on, and I'd be here for an hour and a half. And I would go around that park at least 20 times. I can't believe you wouldn't do less than 20. And the thing is, even though they are divided, there are going to be some intersections. And my biggest concern, again, is the space and speed. So I would say for the liability, for city liability, I'm not sure, as you probably have an asset, I have lived in the country for the last 26 years, but I do not know exactly what city liability is in the park. But I believe that if anything bad would happen, I would say it would be in your own interest to have some kind of study that objectively recommends that this is a safe setup, because as long as I've been on cross-country skiing trails in Michigan and Illinois. I never seen one that would actually have both. So that would be running basically intersections every half a mile, because that's how often we probably gonna meet on that trail. So yes, I do kind of almost insist on everybody noticing that some people that live around the park are concerned that safety and the risk of incidents is going to be very high. I guess that's my comment. It's not really a question. I just believe that something in that kind of situation should be done, and before at least to recommend who should stop, what is the speed limit for everybody. I understand that skiers are not going to go any faster than 8 miles an hour, but I'm pretty sure the bikers are going to go close to 30. So if you know the park, because I know you do, you've been biking on that trail, some of the hills are just unbelievable. So the speed generated on those trails are going to be tremendous.
Excuse me, sir. This is Pepper again. I can tell you that if you can do more than 4 laps in that park in an hour, you're a professional athlete.
We have to maintain order here, and please, we need
I
to.
understand. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I'll take the comment. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. If you can do more than 4 laps in an hour on that park, you must be a professional athlete. And at no point in my riding that park I've ever topped 20 miles an hour. And I'm very confident in my skills. So I'm not sure who you're seeing go through there, but the park is not that fast.
Downhill. And the longest hill is not
downhill. Number one.
Gentlemen, we really need to address the committee, and we need the information, and we should try to get together and talk amongst yourselves. So, that'd be fine. But for now, please, let's just. Is there anything else you care to add to be written about the safety? And is there someone else who'd like to speak now?
Yeah. Jared Keller, 1112 Anchor Drive. I helped lay out the trails a little bit with the new configuration. And the two things we try to address were the intersections. There are only, with the way we want to lay out the trails now, there are only 2 intersections where the bikes and the skis will cross. Both of those instances, the bikers are traveling uphill, so they are going at a slow rate of speed. We also did our best to eliminate the 2 big downhills from the bike loop. So the bikes are no longer be bombing those big, long, sustained hills. It will be hitting those speeds anymore. So I hope that kind of helps ease some fears.
Thank you. That is helpful.
Alderman Scannell, this is Holly Baseman, permission to speak.
Certainly.
So Holly Baseman, 1278 East Main. Again, speaking on behalf of the Bear Creek Preservation Foundation. I'll speak from the Bear Creek Greenway and the experience that we have out there. Most people will know that we have multi-use on all of our trails, so we definitely have an issue with biking, walking, and then in the winter cross-country skiing. And I will just say that, honestly, if there's going to be something that happens out there, it's on an individual basis. We do not have trails separated for use. Every single trail out there is multi-use. Of course, in the winter, we ask that folks get off the cross-country ski to a matter of speed. It's a matter of an individual not respecting rules. So, if you're separating trails for usage, then it's up to the individual to respect how they use
it. Thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak on this?
Well, this individual to respect
his
interests.
Tad Field at in 2906 Prairie Court. I will kind of take all the comments, but I would like to also mention the pedestrians are not represented. We both, the bikers and the skiers probably don't like it very much because they are do ruin the trails, but they are there, and they are there in the highest numbers. So the thing is, they take their dogs out there. We myself, we have a dog that we kind of get out there, and I just want to voice another concern that a lot of those people that are neither on cross-country skis on the bike are going to follow the trails. They're going to be all over the place, and they will be having dogs with them on a leash, which again, with big groups of people, and I will admit that I guess the map is new to me. I also do not know the laws on those trails. I have not seen them on. I checked the board to see if there's any other regulation that having a dog on a 6-foot leash, but there's not really information about how fast you're going, and I would like to just be concerned for those users too, because those dogs are going to be with the leashes. They're going to be all over the place, and that will be another concern for the pedestrians and the dogs mostly. And I guess if that trail is said that it's multi-use, I mean, we're not going to be able to reinforce the pedestrian not being able to use it, which I'm completely against, and I agree, pedestrians are going to be in the highest numbers. I also would like to ask if the bikers that are biking on those trails are going to be biking in the groups, or are they going to be more individual?
I would think that would be, we wouldn't have any control over that. We game the games. The group shows up, it's a group. If an individual shows up, it's an individual. Do you have anything on that, James?
Most of the trails, like you mentioned, sir, are, single track, I'll call them, where only one bike can fit at a time. You can't really bike next to anybody. So if it is a group, it still would be single bikers going on the trail. It'd be the same as we do have cross-country ski groups that show up, just like the Fat Tire Bikers. So yeah, there may be groups that show up, or parties of bikers or skiers or pedestrians that show up and walk the trails. I guess I will say that we will continue to, monitor the situation and make sure that we, modify anything accordingly, or we can always address it again. That would be, and that'd be part of the motion, I guess, going forward, is that we continue to receive updates or give updates to the park committee on this.
Thank you.
Anyone else here to speak on this?
Hi, I'm Jamie Stutzowski. I have my video on, but my chat works. Hopefully you can all hear me.
Get your name.
My name's Jamie. I live at 2772 Oakwood Drive, right across from the church. I'm a frequent user of the park. Again, I live right next to the park. Kind of a selling point for us buying this house was the utilization of that park. My husband and I are very active people. The runners, walkers, the other ones that have been noted that, and we've noticed the increase in the fat hikers. And that was a great idea to utilize, for both uses. But I guess my concern, if they're going to use the park for both uses, would again be the purpose of your general pedestrians that are using that park. It's a park within the middle of neighborhoods. There's a church right next door. There's a school right next door. So you have a lot of people using that park. Again, I run out there in the morning before I go to work. I use it at night when I come home from work. So I see the people day in and day out. I've noticed the Fat Tire Bikers again increased. Their speed is, if they're going down hills, they are going fast. I have noticed that sometimes their expectation is that walkers or runners need to get out of their way. Again, I run out there, so I'm using my headphones. I do see their lights if it's at nighttime, I can see that, but other than that, I'm not always hearing you right behind me, but I guess general respect of the trails is for give a heads up, or hey, not listening to it, I'm blaring loud, but the general respect of the trail just to me has not been there. Maybe that'll change with the utilization of them utilizing a different trail system. But again, I don't think you're going to keep walkers and daily usage people off those trails. So you're almost taking this park and cutting it in half for specifically biking and specifically the utilization for other purposes like running, water time. But as I said, you know, it is a neighborhood park, so a lot of people are out there walking on a daily basis, and those trails do get slick in the wintertime when, again, the bikers are going around multiple times, patting that trail down. Last year, again, with the increased traffic, the trails were very, very icy. And not just the cross-country trails, it was every trail in the park. So you do walk down icy trails, again, hitting that safety point of it. I guess that would be a big concern of mine. But I guess my big standpoint is you're taking this park that people have utilized for years and almost cutting it in half for walking and utilization and moving out of the way for bikers. And from my standpoint, there are plenty of other parks within the Green Bay city to utilize specifically for biking. I mean, Bear Creek is a large park. I know that that's used for biking. We walk out there frequently. The reforestation camp is just north of Green Bay is, you know, almost 100% utilized for biking. They're bigger trail systems, which causes you to not be as overrun because they have more space to go. You're not doing 100 laps around one area. So again, you're not getting that icy and worn down trails. I guess another thing is in the wintertime, I mean, it's gonna get slushy and you start to get that thawing season. So I don't know what the actual season of the Fat Tiger Bikers is because I haven't seen them as frequently in the summertime, but obviously I've noticed the pickup. So I don't know what their season is, but at the end of last year, you get that thawing season and the trails are just turning glare ice because Fat Tiger Bikers are out there, they're turning muddy, they get slushy, and then it's like an ice skating rink out there. So I guess that would be my biggest concern and some of those key points is for people utilizing this park for just, again, daily walking or running, aside from cross-country skiing and even mountain biking. You know, how are you going to compensate for those people that have lived and used this park forever for that purpose?
Thank you. We'll take it up in discussion. Anyone else want to speak? I think motion to close the floor. Okay, Virginia, really isn't a trail just marked out for walkers, is there?
No. So,
Bikers, ski.
so walkers, you know, walkers could walk on the Fat Tire bike trails. They could also walk wherever they want in the park. I mean, the park is, you know, you don't necessarily have to stay on the trail if you don't.
Right. Well, I was just thinking in the winter though, I mean, it could be pretty heat, but whatever. Okay.
James, did your department do any kind of outreach to the
I'm having some difficulties with the internet connection right now, just so you guys know. Okay. I'm actually not even, I think I got kicked out.
I'll see if I can.
Here, let me see if this will work. Yeah, I got.
Okay, I gotta let you back in now.
Yeah, we'll try.
Okay, you should be in.
Should be to ask the staff to collect information, collect input from the neighbors and users of the park, and rethink this and report to us perhaps next time.
That's
All right.
we can discuss that.
Can you guys still hear me now? I lost my I lost my connect. I'm sorry about that. Am I back? That was fun trying to decipher that, by the way.
Yeah. Well, now there's two of you. Anyway, maybe your response to Alder, if you're like, oh.
Yeah, I'm gonna leave the meeting on this one. There. Now there's only one of me. That could get weird right there. So you were asking, did we reach out to any of the neighbors or people around the park? Is that what you were asking?
And the users, I mean, have you gathered citizen input on this before you went ahead with the plan? It seems to be sorry that perhaps people haven't heard.
So the communication was, to approve the use of fat tire bikes at Industry Park. So we really just focused on the use of fat tire bikes and also cross-country skiing, stemming off of our conversation we had late winter last year, like Alder Burnett and Weary were a part of it, I believe, in January or February of this last year. It seems like a year ago. But overall, we took into account thinking about pedestrians. I will say, as a citizen, I also frequent the park probably, if not daily, at least every other day. And, so I honestly monitor the park all the time myself as well. But, we didn't send out any letters or there's not a neighborhood association in that area. There's not a, we didn't go out and knock on doors or anything, if that's what you're asking. But, we did meet with the cross-country ski parties involved, address any concerns. We also met with Fat Tire Bikers multiple times to address any concerns. And as a staff, we also went out and tried to come up with the best plan moving forward for this year that we could think of.
Thank you.
Alder Burnett.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. I'll try to be succinct because I have a lot of thoughts. I'm not sure where this will go, but backtrack a little bit. The Parks Department had been trying to find another location for the Fat Tire Bike user group. They have a location on Barron Street on the east side, and then trying to find a location on the west side. Ken Ewers Park on the far northwest side of the city was considered. Colburn Park was considered, but those didn't work out for a variety of reasons. So the thought on the Parks Department was to place it at Enos Rock Park, which is in my district. One thing I realized about that park, this is the way it really should be for all city parks, is that the neighbors really take a large ownership stake in that park. It's a beautiful park. It's wooded, wildlife, a lot of natural growth and wetlands. It's quite an attraction and an asset for my district and my constituents. So as I was campaigning for office, and I think James, your microphone's giving a feedback. Are you able to make it like yours? Okay, I think that's better. Sorry, it was just a little distracting. So as I was knocking on doors and campaigning through there, Enos Rock would come up quite often. And my thought is, although I live in the district, I don't live adjacent to it. I live probably miles away, perhaps. So my thought then was, gosh, this is kind of a hidden asset, like a hidden jewel of the city parks department. From the street, you certainly don't realize how nice it is back there until you actually walk the trails. So I proposed a lot of things to constituents when I was candidate for that, and what I noticed was the Parks Department have tried different things there. I think different playground equipment, and the neighbors kind of, not all neighbors, but they're taking ownership of it because it's such a nice park. So I knew going in that any changes or any adjustments to the park would have to have community buy-in and neighborhood buy-in. I think that would be the case for any city park. But I think a couple of years ago we had talked about as a city committee of purchasing property around Bay Beach. My question was similar to where Alder Gerlach's question to James was just now. Did the community know about this?
you've informed the neighborhood, and the response of the Parks Department was, they do their absolute best, given the resources that they have, to notify the public and notify the people in that district, but it's not always easy to do. So maybe long term going forward, we certainly need to revisit that, because I don't want people to have things happen in their neighborhood parks that they were not aware of. I think that's more public policy. That's a discussion for another day. But I did, when this passed and was explored, keep in mind this is a trial basis. This wasn't, in my opinion, my understanding, was not meant to be a permanent change if it didn't work. And there's a lot of reasons why this couldn't work, and there's a lot of reasons why we could make it work. So it is my intent now, when folks reached out to me in February, I had been going door to door with my literature, but March, before I could hit this neighborhood with this new information, COVID hit. So I had to kind of stop going door to door to spread the word. And, ideally I would love to go door to door and engage in the neighborhood, but I don't want to necessarily knock on people's doors given the highly contagious pandemic we're facing. So I try my best to spread the word how I can. Now, one correction, it's a slight correction. Mr. Anderson said that there's not a neighborhood association in the neighborhood. That is secret, perhaps, in that general area, but there is Arms Neighborhood Association whose members use the park. So that, although it might not be covered within a neighborhood association district, we certainly have people who belong to that neighborhood who do use this park. So I did reach out to them in February just to get some input. Hey, how are things going? And there really hadn't been a whole lot of negative feedback that the Parks Department did. So anyways, this is where we're at now. I'm bringing this forward to stay ahead of it. And what I've personally been doing here for this is from March, April, and then through the summer months, I've actually spent quite a bit of time in the park. And I'll continue to keep a lot of time in the park in the next month or two to observe the cross-country skiing and how it converges with the fat bike tire bike group. Because it is my belief that if it doesn't work, and there's a lot of reasons, and I want to kind of make the push to say, listen, we tried this now for season and out 2 seasons. This just isn't going to work, and this is why. And I can't do that unless I can visually witness that. Not that I don't believe my constituents, I do. They're very active in sending me emails. You probably received about 6 or 7 emails and on the phone with a lot of really valid concerns. That's the sort of public feedback we want. We want to know what if it works and what it doesn't work. So that's a long kind of rant about where we are at in the process. But what I would recommend, in my discussion with James, was have the Parks Department work very closely with the Fat Tire Bike group, the UC group, so that group educates their members to say, okay, we're going to try it here, and maybe it doesn't work. And what I've realized with these different groups is you have an asset like Straw that is open to that group. They hopefully will regulate and police themselves, amongst their group. Hey, don't screw this up for us. Let's make this work. So I'm not convinced that long term this is the right idea. So I guess what I would recommend is to kind of move forward with how we're doing things this year and have Jane, Mr. Anderson, and Director Ditchite report back to this committee the first meeting in January. Is that I can kind of witness things with my own eyes and do some more community outreach to my constituents just to get a more broad swath of opinions other than the maybe half a dozen that I've received. So that'll be my motion to refer to the Parks Department to work closely with neighborhood interested stakeholders and the Fat Tire Bike group and report back for further discussion and possible action at the first meeting in January of the Parks Department. Hopefully you can review the video of that, James. It's a long motion. I think it's a good one. It keeps things moving, but also gives us an opportunity to revisit it and take new evidence if it's not going to work.
second to that?
So,
Motion by Alder Burnett, seconded by Alder Weary.
so I have a motion to refer to staff to work with the neighborhood and interested parties, along with the Fat Tire Bike group, to and then report back to Parks Committee with an update the first meeting in January for use, for use at Innisfil Park or whatever.
For discussion with possible action, as James, what I'd like to do is keep open the possibility of this committee saying, you know what, going forward is just not a good idea. I want to keep that option on the table.
Okay.
Alder Weary, and then Alder Gerlach.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, at first I was wondering why we were going to discuss that entire bikers, but then I realized I just kind of bikes. No, that's good to hear. I defer to Alder Burnett. He knows his area like we know our friends and for him, so that doesn't be a good idea.
Alder Gerlach.
I just want to be clear, so what you're proposing is that we go ahead and allow this to start and then, and monitor and report back, right, Alder Burnett?
Sure.
Okay.
And just for the record, I don't have a fat tire bike, but I do have a fat tire. I try to walk every day. Any further discussion on this? We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, that passes unanimously. And I suppose I should say that everything he does is a recommendation to the council. Council has final say on it.
Okay, ready for number 4.
Number 4, consideration with possible action to accept the donation of $15,500 from the Navarino Neighborhood Association to fund the entire cost of the installation of 4 new Wisconsin Public Service owned lights in Navarino Park. Yeah. Any reason why we wouldn't do this? I can't imagine why not.
No, well, just to go over a few details about it. But big kudos to the Navarino Park Neighborhood Association. Over the past few years, they've been very proactive with trying to enhance Navarino Park. We've been lucky to put a new playground in there. They also put a big art Adirondack chair that's been in the park now, and we also just completed the 300-meter asphalt loop that has been installed in the park with stormwater management going in there as well. And in the winter now we've been also having an ice rink in that park. So the park has really taken shape because of the efforts of the neighborhood association. So we really appreciate them. But now they're coming back again with a donation that we would like you to hopefully accept of $15,500 from them. There's currently 2 light poles located in the central area of the park that are owned by Wisconsin Public Service Corporation, and the Parks Department does pay a monthly fee to WPS for the use of lights and electricity. So there was a desire from the neighborhood association to add more lighting to the park, and the neighborhood association has acquired $15,500, which includes funding received from the Brown County United Way to install 4 additional lights, which will help illuminate the entire park. So the new light poles and fixtures will also be owned by WPS, and there will be an ongoing monthly fees associated with the use of them, which is approximately $30 per month per light. So to avoid any increased costs due to winter installation, the lights are planned to be installed by Wisconsin Public Service in the spring of 2021, which we reviewed with the neighborhood association, and they are okay with that. So that is the item.
Seems like a right idea. Anybody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept. Second.
Motion to accept by Alder Weary, seconded by Alder Burnett. Any further discussion or questions? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? We have some lights. Or will.
Alright, you good?
Okay, then, the director's report, I think,
Nope.
everybody read that, pretty good,
One-
very well done again. I don't have
One more item,
any
Randy.
questions.
One more.
We want to burn stuff.
Fine, thank you. Consideration of possible action to approve the request from the Bear Creek Preservation Association to facilitate a control of the Bear Creek Greenway.
So the Bear Creek Preservation Foundation hired NES to perform buckthorn removal in the Bear Creek Greenway, just south of Triangle Hill in an effort to restore the area to native plantings. So I've included a highlighted map in your packet of the area. It's about 18.5 acres total. Burning the area will help to ensure that the buckthorn is not able to reestablish in that area where the buckthorn removal has already taken place. And then Fox Valley Technical College has recently conducted controlled burns in the Greenway successfully, and we have reviewed the burn plan with our Fire Marshal, Captain Joe Gabe, and he has approved the burn plan for work to be completed. So if possible, and you guys approve this burn plan, then they would hopefully get a burn this winter yet, but possibly if they don't get it in, then they would do it the spring of 2021.
Any questions, comments? Alderman
James, have we done this? I don't recall us doing this recently.
Yes, we have done these type of burns. The exact, we do, I think, have Holly on the line from Bear Creek Preservation. She could give you details on exactly when we did it. I don't have them right in front of me, but yes, we have done these burns in the past.
That's fine. I can't trust your judgment. I mean, I know buckthorns are just insect thing. This is the best way to rid ourselves of it, at least for a while. I think it's okay. I just wasn't sure. There's a history of doing this throughout the city.
Anyone else? Do we roast marshmallows?
Move to approve.
Approved, all right. Second, Alder Gerlach. All in favor? Aye.
Yeah, I think anybody who's went to GB or goes out to GB says they do that every year, every other year. But they have a big spot that they do too. So.
Now, Alder Scannell, we can go on to the director's report if you'd like.
Director's report. Is there any comments or questions for about the directors? Very detailed, very well done. I'm good. Anybody else? Alder Gerlach.
I just want to say I thought it was excellent. It always is excellent, and it's always very inspiring. It's just so exciting, the things that our park rep and forestry people do.
I concur.
Yeah, it's on a down year too. I mean, obviously, because of COVID, but in a normal year, they just exceed expectations all the time. So I agree, Alder Gerlach. I'm very appreciative of the post.
Thank you for everybody, all our staff.
We can't give you more money, but we can give you more compliments.
Hey, we'll take what we can get. We'll take what we can get. It's the holiday season.
Motion to receive and place on file?
Place on file.
Motion by Alder Gerlach, second by Alder Burnett. All in favor? Aye. Okay, our next meeting will be December 9th, 2020. Everybody have a great Thanksgiving. I don't think there's anything else.
Take care of you.
Take care, everybody.
Oh.